into it. Today, we're taking a fascinating journey inspired by a book written way back in 1952, Kurt Vonnegut's Player Piano.
Yeah, it's really quite something.
Think humming factories, a world just swimming in automation.
It's striking, isn't it, how Vonnegut, writing right after World War II, that whole industrial boom,
Right.
he tapped into these anxieties about machines taking over that feel incredibly, well, relevant now, especially with AI and automation becoming so prominent.
Exactly. And if you've been keeping an eye on things like Elon Musk's Tesla full self-driving, or the sort of futuristic idea of the cybercab, or even just these big networks of robo-taxis.
Yeah, autonomous cars that actually work.
Right, cars that truly drive themselves. Then Player Piano offers this surprisingly, I don't know, sharp lens to look at all these developments.
Absolutely. And look, our goal here isn't really to predict the future.
No.
It's more about exploring the really insightful questions Vonnegut was asking about a society that's, relying more and more on machines, and seeing how those questions kind of echo today with this big push towards self-driving cars.
Okay, so let's paint the picture a bit. Vonnegut imagines this America where machines, they basically handle almost all the industrial work. And the consequence, well, a huge chunk of the population feels adrift. They lack a clear purpose.
Yeah, disconnected.
And the heart of this whole automated world is the Ilium Works. It's this massive factory just churning out everything you can think of: baby carriages, bottle caps,
refrigerators, TVs, motorcycles, all of it.
Yeah, all thanks to these tireless machines. It's like a 1950s vision of a completely hands-off production line.
And that image, the Ilium Works, it's such a powerful starting point when you think about autonomous vehicles today.
How so?
Well, it represents that ultimate goal of automation in transport, doesn't it? Taking the human driver out of the equation entirely. Just like the machines in the novel replaced human hands on the factory floor, the idea now is for AI and sensors to replace human eyes, hands, feet, everything on the road.
And Vonnegut really digs into how that shift affects what it even means to be human. We meet characters like Paul Proteus. He's a plant manager, right?
High up.
High up. Seems important, but he feels this deep, gnawing lack of real purpose. There's this constant theme in the book, this contrast between the perfect, predictable efficiency of the machines and then the sometimes messy, unpredictable nature of people. Remember all the trouble with Lathe Group 3 in Building 58?
Oh, yeah, that clip coming up. It really highlights how the human element, both its strengths and its weaknesses, is kind of being pushed aside. And that brings up a really crucial point when we talk about autonomous vehicles like Tesla's FSD or these robo-taxi networks.
Okay.
The promise is, yes, greater efficiency, better safety, fewer accidents from human error, all that good stuff. But could we be accidentally chipping away at the sense of value, the sense of contribution, for literally millions of people who drive for a living right now?
You mean taxi drivers, truckers?
Exactly. Taxi drivers, delivery drivers, long-haul truckers. What happens to their sense of purpose, their identity even, in a world where those skills just aren't needed anymore?
Yeah, that's a huge question. And in Player Piano, it's not just the factory workers feeling it. Even the managers, the guys supposedly in charge of the machines.
Like Proteus.
They start questioning their own value. Vonnegut has this great satirical take on this almost like religious faith in tech progress and corporate identity. Things that Paul finds increasingly hollow. His sort of growing unease really drives the whole story.
It's pretty insightful how early Vonnegut saw that technology could reshape not just our jobs, but our whole understanding of self-worth.
Yeah.
The novel really touches on this anxiety of living where, technical know-how, being an engineer or manager, becomes the most prized thing.
Right, the elite.
Potentially leaving a huge part of the population feeling, irrelevant. And that theme feels really strong now as we look at these super complex autonomous systems where how they actually work is, frankly, a black box to most people.
Which brings us right back to today, doesn't it? Just like the Ilium Works automated factory work on this massive scale, these autonomous vehicle technologies, the FSD, the cybercab concept, the robo-taxis, they're set to automate driving, which is a huge, widespread form of skilled work.
It really is. We're talking about a potentially enormous shift in the job market. It just echoes those same anxieties Vonnegut wrote about, but, decades later and in a different part of the economy. It's like that saying, history rhyming.
And it's not just about the money, the jobs, is it? Vonnegut also gets at our kind of inherent preference for human connection sometimes.
Ah, yeah, the waiters.
Exactly. That brief failed experiment in the book to replace waiters with machines. People
Yeah.
just missed the interaction. They missed the human touch.
Hmm.
It makes you wonder, even with the convenience of autonomous transport, which is undeniable,
Sure.
might there be parts of travel or maybe other services too, where that human interaction stays really important, maybe even essential, something that just, resists being fully automated?
That's a great point. I think really the absolute core of Player Piano is digging into the psychological, the social fallout of a life without meaningful work, without meaningful engagement.
Yeah.
You see characters like Paul and Finnerty and Lasher really struggling with this emptiness. And their rebellion, eventually, it comes from this deep lack of purpose. It's not just about not having a job title.
Right. It's deeper.
It's about not feeling needed, not feeling like you're contributing anything real.
And this is where Vonnegut's satire just feels so sharp today. If technologies like fully self-driving cars do lead to major job losses or even just underemployment,
Which is a real possibility people are discussing.
how do we deal with that fundamental human need? The need for meaning, for belonging. Lasher's point in the book about how people's sense of participation was already shrinking, even before total automation.
Oh, that's incredibly prescient. Yeah.
He saw how the focus shifting just to technical expertise was already disconnecting the average worker. It wasn't just losing the job itself, it was losing that sense of agency, of being involved.
And doesn't that tie directly into where we are now? If our transport systems, maybe other essential services too, are increasingly run by algorithms, by big corporations, could that create a similar feeling? Like you're powerless, just a passenger in a life controlled by systems you don't understand, let alone influence.
Yeah, it's like a subtle loss of personal autonomy.
And Vonnegut even gives us the Ghost Shirt Society, this group that deliberately embraces imperfection, being fragile, even being inefficient, as things that are fundamentally human. It's a direct challenge to the perfect, flawless machines. And it really pushes us to ask, in this relentless drive for perfect autonomous systems, perfect efficiency, are we maybe forgetting something vital about human needs, human values?
Like, are we optimizing away the things that actually make us human, including our flaws?
Exactly. The very things that make us unique and, sometimes wonderfully imperfect.
It's a powerful idea. And then you have characters like Kroner with his unwavering belief in this golden age of progress, all driven by technology.
Oh, faith.
It sounds a lot like some of the, unquestioning enthusiasm you sometimes hear around autonomous vehicles today.
Right.
But Vonnegut cleverly shows the social unrest just simmering below the surface of his supposedly perfect automated world. Makes you think, are we asking enough tough questions about the future we're actually building with driverless tech?
Vonnegut also shows, maybe more subtly, how people in Player Piano feel kind of boxed in by the system. Even the managers, the ones supposedly in charge.
Yeah, even Paul.
Yeah. Which raises fair questions about autonomous vehicles. Could they lead to new kinds of control, new dependencies? Like who owns all the data these cars will generate?
That's a big
But
one.
who gets access? How much real freedom, real autonomy do we actually have in a world increasingly run by these interconnected, often opaque systems?
And there's that stark irony, isn't there? The Ilium Works, a place that used to make things for war, now churning out the fruits of peace refrigerators, TVs, but it's all done by these humming, whirring machines. It makes you wonder if the promise of safer, more efficient transport via autonomy might also come with hidden costs.
What kind of costs?
Well, maybe affecting how we interact socially.
Yeah.
Our connection to our local areas, maybe even our sense of just, personal freedom, the ability to just go for a drive.
That makes sense. And Lasher's idea of lawlessness.
What was that, Ian?
He talks about the sort of unchecked replacement of human roles by machines, done without really thinking about human wishes, human lives, the social fabric. That feels incredibly relevant to how fast autonomous tech is moving. Are we maybe developing and deploying things like robo-taxis too quickly without fully grasping the long-term fallout for people and for society? It raises huge ethical questions, governance questions.
And you see these smaller moments in the book, too, these little losses of human connection.
Yeah.
Like the old train conductor who gets replaced by an automatic system.
Yeah, just gone.
It points to that potential loss of personalized service, just that basic human interaction. Could fully autonomous transport lead to the same thing, a kind of depersonalization of travel? Will we miss those little moments of connection without even realizing it until they're gone?
And Vonnegut, crucially, doesn't pretend these automated systems are perfect. He shows their limits, their potential failures, from that malfunctioning meter in Building 58 to the total chaos and the revolution at the end. It's a pretty strong reminder about safety and reliability when we talk about fully autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, what happens when these incredibly complex systems glitch or fail? Who's responsible then?
These are absolutely critical questions we need solid answers for.
So, okay, as we start to wrap this up, it's really important to remember, Player Piano is satire.
Definitely. It's a cautionary tale, not a crystal ball.
It's not a prediction, but it's powerful, thought-provoking stuff.
And the debate we're having now about AI, automation, autonomous vehicles, it's far from over.
No kidding.
Vonnegut's novel just hammers home how vital it is to look past the cool tech, the impressive capabilities,
Right.
and really grapple with the deep human and ethical side of these huge changes.
Yeah, the fundamental question, the one that echoes right out of Vonnegut's book is, as we race towards this future with more and more autonomous tech, how do we make sure we don't accidentally sideline basic human needs? You know, the need for purpose, for connection, for feeling like we have some control over our own lives.
Player Piano is just such a potent reminder that progress, technological progress, it holds amazing potential, sure, but we have to navigate it thoughtfully, with a really clear understanding of what makes us human and what kind of society we actually want to live in.
So if this discussion got you thinking, we definitely recommend grabbing a copy of Player Piano.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly relevant even now, 70 plus years later?
Absolutely. A great read.
And keep exploring these questions about autonomous vehicles, about AI's impact. It's a conversation that really affects all of us.
Yeah, and maybe the best way to think about fictional worlds like Vonnegut's isn't as predictions, but as really valuable thought experiments. They help us ask, what kind of future do we want to build with these incredibly powerful tools, and what can we learn from the stories that aren't afraid to explore both the best and worst possibilities?
That's a great final thought. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
Catch you next time.